Hi everyone, number one Marmaduke fan here. I did it. I finished my first one shot as a DM, and it was a great experience. I had a blast. I got really good feedback from the players. They all seemed to have a blast and had good things to say. So I promised a follow-up video where I talk about kind of like what I learned and what it was like to be a first-time DM. Out of the players, 6 of them were noobs. 1 was an experienced player. I had one player who his boss was on his case, so he had to drop out, and we had a friend hop in for one night. So there was a lot of juggling to do. I'm not going to talk about the deep spoilers of my story and my module. I'm really proud of it, and I think it's good enough that I want to refine it and maybe put it out as a published module. So I'll give you the spoiler-free or maybe the minor spoiler version. My general goal when I made the adventure is I wanted to give a group of new players a chance to try combat, to try exploration, and to try social interaction. And I really liked the idea of giving them a mystery to solve. But I wanted them to be able to win the game even if they couldn't piece together all the clues of the mystery. The working title for the adventure is The Menace of Gatsby. And Gatsby is basically a little hobbit village of goat farmers. I know that hobbits trademarked by the Tolkien estate, but when we played the game, I called them hobbits because everybody knows what a hobbit is. Not everybody knows what a halfling is. This is a minor spoiler. It's pretty obvious, but there's a werewolf element to the plot. The second you arrive in the town, people have stories about werewolves. The little children are singing songs about werewolves. So, put 2 and 2 together. You know that a werewolf is going to be involved somehow. But there's also a deeper mystery to what's going on. It's more than just that there's a werewolf, that something evil is in the air, and the heroes have to investigate and get to the bottom of it. And if they can, hopefully they can stop the bad thing from happening. Some of my inspirations, I was inspired by Powell Anderson's 3 Hearts and 3 Lions. He has a really cool chapter in that's a werewolf mystery plot. And I also really like Powell Anderson's kind of more Christian D&D universe idea. So I kind of wanted to bring some of that into my campaign. I was heavily inspired by the Scouring of the Shire in Lord of the Rings. One of my initial thoughts is I kind of like to take the idea of hobbits versus an evil wizard and rejigger that somehow. I was inspired by a lot of JRPGs like Chrono Trigger and Earthbound. I wanted that whimsical sense of humor. I wanted there to be lots of little fun games new players could play to give them kind of like the basic idea of how to play this game, and also kind of make the Hobbit village feel real, feel very fun, feel like something they want to care about and protect. Of course, I was inspired by Scooby-Doo. I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling adventurers, and Werewolf Cop by Andrew Clavin for some of my ideas on what makes a good werewolf story. For player power scaling. So one of the things I was worried about killing my players by accident because I'd throw something too hard at them. And so I asked my D&D nerd friend about that. He suggested increasing their HP so they're not quite as, one-hit killable, and maybe giving them some bonuses to their best stats so that they could feel really competent in their area of expertise. I think I was too worried about me total party killing them by accident. There was never a point where I was close to murdering them. So I guess that was a good thing, because I did want them to have the experience of feeling like superheroes. I wanted them to feel like the superheroes, in contrast to the hobbits, who are all very small and helpless and need their help. We did have some really tense moments where they just barely managed to hit the difficulty class on an important roll. So there was tension, and I think I did challenge them. I think I probably just was I shouldn't have worried so much about killing them by accident. And the bonuses I gave to their skills ended up letting them do really difficult and challenging things very early on in the game. They were basically as strong as a level 2, maybe probably a level 2 or a level 3 party at level 1. One thing they did that surprised me is they looked for clues much more aggressively than I expected. I kind of just expected them to hear little hints about the werewolf, or little hints about books and items and just say, okay, we're going to go check out this forest. But no, they mainly stayed in the main town and like explored everything in the main town. And they found a lot of stuff I wasn't expecting them to grab up right away, which was good because it meant that they were aggressively trying to pursue the threads of the mystery. They defeated the mini boss for the one shot, and they saved the little hobbit girl's life. Because they explored the clues so aggressively, what they were able to deduce is the giant wolf that grabbed the girl was not a werewolf. So what I was kind of mentally expecting is they're going to save this little girl from the giant wolf. They'll assume, oh, the giant wolf, that must be the werewolf, so we've taken care of that problem. But because they found all the information about what werewolves look like and how to tell the difference between a werewolf and a normal wolf, they deduced that we didn't get the werewolf. So I planned a week's worth of material for the game in case it was like a smash hit and we were going to play all the week. We ended up having like so many busy days. We got 2 game nights out of it. They didn't have enough time to find the werewolf, but they did beat the mini boss. So I over-prepared probably, but we timed it beautifully where they got to a nice ending point by the end of the week. There was a little bit of metagaming where, if you hear hobbits giving you hints that there were once werewolves around here, you're going to put 2 and 2 together that, okay, well, there must be a werewolf at some point in this story. And they kind of figured, well, the animals seem to be on edge around here, so maybe the werewolf is hiding here inside the village somewhere. It wasn't too bad. They weren't too bad about metagaming. There was maybe like 1 or 2 times where I came in as DM and said, no, it wouldn't make sense for your characters have no way of knowing that. So stay on task for what you were doing. Let me think of an example. Once I hinted that someone nearby, I hinted that someone nearby was a threat, and they all jumped straight to werewolf, right? Let's go on to the next point. Okay, one player had detect good and evil, and I tried to read a little about what other DMs do about detect good and evil, because the problem is if there's one evil guy and you detect good and evil on him, well, there you go. There's the evil guy, right? So what I decided is that detect good and evil only works if someone is pure evil or pure good, but if they're not pure evil or pure good, instead what you get is you get sort of a hazy image of how respectively good or evil they are, right? So it's not as definitive. Also, of course, if a werewolf doesn't know they're a werewolf, they might not be evil at all. If they're human and a very good human and they don't suspect this about themselves, they would show up on your detector as good. So I didn't want there to be one easy magic way for them to break the whole mystery. And I also decided that detect magic wouldn't work. I didn't want someone to just say, I detect magic and there's the werewolf. So I basically just made some decisions at the beginning that there's not like a one-hit button that ends the mystery right away. I was surprised by how long they spent doing social interaction and shopping, even when I tried to streamline the experiences, right? Like I didn't want to role play buying every single little piece of rope and stuff, but I did role play, them haggling over really important items. That ended up taking up most of our first session. Was social interaction, shopping, and then kind of like I gave them like books on werewolf lore that they could pour through for clues. So that was mainly the focus of our first session, and we had a little mini combat with training dummies inspired by Gato from Chrono Trigger, and they blasted through the training dummies ridiculously easy. One poor player who was really excited for the combat, he was last on initiative, so they defeated the enemy right before he got his turn. So I felt sorry for him, and I wanted to give him combat in the next session to make up for it. He took it really well, by the way. It was a really good crew. I guess my family and friends are really high quality D&D players because they took losing very well. They took having like ridiculous losses very well. They powwowed with each other pretty well. I made a lot of homebrew magic powers for them because I wanted them to feel more powerful and more cool than a level 1 party. They used them really well, and I felt like I did a pretty good job balancing the homebrew powers so they weren't OP. Next time we play, I might what I might do is I might use the limitation where it's like you can only use this spell 1 plus your ability score modifier per day to make those magic powers a little bit more of a precious resource, so they don't use them all the time. But they also use them creatively. Like I gave one player the ability to touch magical objects and determine if they were magic and get an idea of what magic power it has. So she not only used it to buy items and decide whether she wanted to buy this item or not, they also used it to investigate some of the suspicious NPCs and see what wares they had, to see if they could find, oh, these guys, they have something really creepy. What's up with that? So that was really cool. I like that they used the abilities creatively. My highlight from the whole session is once they got a hint that 2 of the merchants in town were really suspicious, shady characters, they all collaboratively and naturally developed a cunning plan to investigate the 2 of them and basically like raid their entire stash of items. And I was not expecting that. So it was good that I overprepared, because when my players threw that at me, I had all the clues ready to go. Some of my players were more gamer mentality centric. You could tell they were approaching it like a game where they want to get the best equipment and they want to win. One who is more experienced and kind of like one of my sisters was in theater with me, so she dug the role play aspect more. But I was actually impressed that every player did a little role play and every player contributed to combat elements as well. So they really stepped up to the plate on that element. The only time I had to intervene as a DM is they found out that one merchant had a really powerful knife for the halfling rogue. And it was the halfling rogue's sister. So she said, well, I don't want to steal from my sister. And then the other party members started planning ways where they could steal the knife from the sister and give it to the halfling rogue. And I had to kibosh that, because I sort of treated that, well, that's kind of like stealing from a playable character, because the playable character has told you she doesn't want to steal the knife and you're all trying to steal the knife and give it to her. So kind of let her take the lead on when she steals the knife that's meant for her. That was my only like hard on the DM moment, and they took it well. Yeah, I mentioned that I probably overprepared a little bit. It was good that I thought about the logic. So the way I set it up is, once I had the general idea of what I wanted the adventure to feel like, I decided, who is the bad guy? What's the big bad evil guy's plan? How did the big bad evil guy implement his plan? And who are maybe like his dumb henchmen that he has peppered around? Then, once I know this is what the big bad evil guy's plan is, then it's up to the players to see if they can figure out, if they can uncover that plot. I know what the bad thing that's going to happen if the players do nothing. I'm open to, I thought of ways where here's how they could solve the mystery, even if they don't have their magic powers. And then if they use their magic powers to solve the mystery even faster, 3 cheers for my players for figuring it out so quick, right? I didn't want to stop them from having those kind of great creative brain blast moments. Now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of wished I hid the clues a little better, because what ended up happening is they got to the end of the one shot and knew that there was much more that they never got to, right? So that might be the one tweak I would make, is make the first pile of clues maybe a little harder to find. But they did great. And they also, the other thing I wanted to do is I didn't want to force my NPCs onto them or dump a bunch of world building onto them. I kind of described things generally, and if they were interested in something, I'd give them more info about that. And they did follow up with a lot of NPCs and poke around in some places. They didn't get to everything, but they did poke around a lot in the Hobbit village, and were able to deduce a lot by making good intelligence skill checks and good investigation checks. So I was just really happy with how it went. For me, it was kind of like I was thrusting myself straight from being a first-time player into being a first-time DM. So I felt like I was in college again and trying to number crunch all of these books for class. But it was a fun experience for me. It scratched my kind of creative, let's build an interesting little world itch. And I think I successfully created a challenge for them that was something they could overcome, but they couldn't overcome easily. So I'm really happy with the experience. I did not record it. Some people asked me, will you stream it? And I just thought, these were all noobs. I don't know if I want to, on top of everything else, do I want to ask them to be, like on camera and, don't mention your social security. Nah, let's just have fun and relax and enjoy the game and have a real experience as a family. I did take really, really, really good notes on what they did during the campaign. So if there's interest, I could maybe summarize that to tell you the story of the Menace of Gatsby. I also want to polish the module and put that out. I'm really proud of it. Like, mysteries are hard to write because you have to come up with the villain's perspective, and then you have to think about it from the hero's perspective when they don't have all the information. So I'm really proud of the mystery I constructed, and it was working. I had the clues connect to other clues. So once they started finding one clue, they got a bunch more clues. So I really do want to polish it and put it out there. So if you want the spoilers, I'll give you the story time video. If you want the virgin experience of playing the module, I'll give you updates when I put out the module. And I think I will take my homebrew ideas and make mini videos out of that, because I think some of the homebrew powers I came up with were really fun, and they were more limited than the more high level spells that I loosely based them on. So these could be some fun cantrips you could give to level 1 players. All right, those are my general thoughts on my first experience as a noob DM. I love you guys. Catch you later. P.S. One of my first memories of D&D was my mom looking at me reading an ad about D&D in a comic book and telling me it was of the devil. And my mom played a hobbit bard, and she probably got more into character than anyone else. I awarded her so much inspiration. So never judge people. People will always surprise you.